to the Fabric Beautique. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I greatly appreciate it. We are here today with our very first podcast style video, and I have a very special guest for you today. I'm so happy to introduce her to you, to many who may have already known Miss Erica, but we're going to jump right in shortly. If you are new to the channel, welcome. We upload on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you have not subscribed, consider subscribing, and don't forget to thumbs up this video. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. I want to introduce today Miss Erica Michelle Bailey.
Hello.
And Erica and I, just a quick background snapshot. We met several years ago. We don't remember how, but somehow
in somebody's room at some event.
Yes,
we physically met.
Here in the Houston area.
Yes.
So if anybody did not know, I am in Texas, but we're in the Houston area.
Yes, right.
And so we hadn't connected for quite some time, and then we reconnected in 2023.
Yes.
Because Erica, she reminded me, she was sharing a video about her sewing space and her equipment. And for those who already know, I do make everything, all of the products here on the that's offered on the Fabric Boutique, link down below. But also she was kicking off her ReferHer Directory. We're going to get into all of that, but that's how I would say reconnected. And so Erica, let's hear a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. I don't take it for granted when I have the opportunity to bless someone's first, yet alone all the, being the second, third, and fourth. This is your first, so yes. I am so proud to say congratulations. Hello, my name is Erica Michelle Bailey. I am so many things right now in my life, but first of all, I want to say that I am a daughter of God. And I'm married. I have a husband. I have 2 young adult children. I'm a Mimi to my grandson. On the work side or the business side, I am the owner of Erica Michelle Bailey & Co. Under that, we deal with consulting with businesses, coaching, mentorship, and then we've broken it out to where we have a movement, which is the Girl I See You movement. We turned 8 years old this month. Yes, that's a big celebration, and that is a virtual space, predominantly a virtual space, where we wanted to create a safe space from women from all backgrounds, faith-based or not. But it's a safe place where they get to come, and I believe our core values, and it has been since day one, is to celebrate, educate, and motivate women, right? As they're walking out in this journey. This journey can get lonely when you know that God has called you to do things, and so that is my heartbeat. And from that, we have the Girl I See You Inc., which is the nonprofit side, where we go out into the communities, connect with existing organizations that focus on restoring women in transition. Yes, that makes sense. So they could be in a transitional home, drug abuse, domestic violence, homelessness. We go in and we have developed a curriculum to help them not only with getting, career development, interviewing, computer skills, all of that, but we also want to make sure that we give them maybe the tools that they feel self-sufficient when they go back out. I've been there, and I know we'll talk about that later. And then we have Brand Her Right, which is actually this month. I kept feeling like, God, what is going on spiritually? I felt a certain way, right? And I began to sit down and think, and I remember that this month is 4 years of Brand Her Right. Wow. Yep, because it happened during COVID. So early on COVID, and also this month is 9 months that I've been full-time entrepreneur. So we know what the number 9 stands for, right? And I'm like, it feels like not the actual birthing pain, but when you're getting your, what do they call it? Like when you start cleaning up, they call it something, because like you feel like your body is nesting.
I forget that exact. I believe it is nesting.
Something like I felt like that in this last month. So those are all the great things that we do. It sounds like a lot, but what I am so blessed is that I have teams, I have ambassadors, I have boards that really help me to keep those things in order.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so the reason we are doing this podcast and why I decided to bring Erica on to this podcast is because, for those who may not be aware, the mission and the theme for the Fabric Boutique is that ministry starts in the home. And I know that Erica definitely brings everything she does before God.
Yes.
Now, whether we're going to talk about it now, whether she executes them the way God tells her, that's another story.
Yeah.
But everything is starting at the feet of God in prayer and through His Word. And so, Erica, we just wrapped up here on the channel the book of Esther.
Ooh, that's my favorite.
A Bible study. If you missed it, make sure you go check that out.
Yeah.
But can you tell us if during this time of development of from Girl I See You, from Erica Michelle Bailey, the speaker, to Brand Her Right, those moments where you feel like you've had an Esther moment, in all of those spaces. If you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so if it really depends on where you want to come from with Esther, because last year, right? So this year you focused on it. Last year we focused on it.
Okay.
So 2022, 2023, our whole 31 days was about the life of Esther.
Okay.
So there's so many amazing things that got revealed to me. But I know that when Girl I See You came about, I am very sure to tell people that this wasn't just an amazing idea and this has been peaches and roses. It wasn't. Girl I See You started out as me challenging God.
Okay.
And I was sitting at the table at my mother's house. I was 40 years old. I had lost my home. It went into foreclosure. I had given everything away in the home that I lived in. Just whatever I could get in my car was what I had left. I transitioned from Orlando, Florida, back to Louisiana, because I'm born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. My parents are in Lafayette. And so I went through a divorce. And so I'm like saying, God, like, I'm 40 years old. This is not what my vision of 40 was, right? Because that's that time where you start to, now your children getting a little older, you really think about what's going to be about me. And it felt like God had forgotten about me. And so I was alone sitting at my parents' table, and I remember saying to God, I said, God, like, do you see me? But I sarcastically, like, do you see me? Like, do you see what's going on? And I remember God responding to me and saying, I see you. Like, his audible voice was like, I see you. And then he went further and took me into the Bible to show me the spaces where there were women that spoke to God and said, like, do you see me? Right. And so that right there was an Esther moment, because what I feel like is like God took Esther parents from her. She didn't have her parents. She was with her uncle who raised her. And so I felt like, God, you've taken everything I know, right? Like, I thought I was going to be there. I loved the job I was on. I loved the direction I was going to. And he didn't do it, but he allowed it. So let me make sure some of my choices got me there. But he allowed it, right? For such a time as this. If you look at Esther's life. And so I would see myself in that. And then he was putting a demand on me to do something. So after I was like, so I'm just saying, God, you know, do you see me? There was some things in that I began to, like, those words stuck with me. You ever heard a quote or something and you feel like you live in it? And I'm like, okay, so subconsciously, I'm not really thinking anything to it. I'm going to be honest. But I am a word girl. So God will give me something and I'll say, okay, God, because you know your daughter, okay, if this is what I'm supposed to do, give me a title. So like, I'm a word girl. So, but that wasn't the conversation, because it wasn't like he was telling me anything was coming out of this. He was just letting me know, I see you. Right. So in me, because it sat with me, and I still can't explain it, but I had a company that used to take care of all of my branding, all of my apparel, all of that.
Yes.
And so because I'm a girl of words, I love words, I said, it was a Sunday. I was like, I'm gonna call, it was KPE Media at that time. That's who took care of us. And so I said, I'm gonna call and leave a message, because Miss Sonia is the young lady I will work with. I'm getting somewhere, because I want you to know how it's important that when something seems like it may be minimum, it could really be something for greatness.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so I said, okay, I'm gonna call there. Now they close on Sundays, but I felt I can leave a message and she'll call me back. Well, who knows? I call and she answers. And I'm like, why are you answering the phone? And she was like, oh, I was just in the office doing some work. Right? No coincidence. God is everything is strategic. So I have to tell you this, because this is where I believe God needed me to get to, and he prompted me to do that.
Yes.
And so I said, hey, God, I got these words that I keep playing with. I just was going to leave them on a message. And so she said to me, because it was a Christian place, she said, well, Miss Erica, I don't know what it means either, but I'll take the words. I'll pray about it. We'll get back together. Well, while that was happening, didn't know anything was going to be birthed out of that at all. I had no anything. When God said, you remember our conversation the other day when you asked me, do I see you? And I said to you, I see you. He says, but I also have some other daughters that feel that way. And so what happened was, I was like, and so what you want me to do with that? Because this is me and God.
That's how we talked about it, right?
I'm being honest. I was like, God, what you want me to do with that?
Yes.
And he says, well, this is what I want you to do. And I began to write it out. And so, Girl, I See You started as 31 days of prayer. I talked to God in April. In May of that year, we had 31 days of prayer. The twist to that was the prayer was hosted at 5 a.m. every morning, virtually, actually on the teller line. This wasn't even no live. Right. This was where you dial into the seminar.
We remember that, right?
Remember that time. That's how old I can date myself. And so when I put it out there, I was just like, okay, I'm just doing this because God told me. But I will tell you that, so many women needed this. Yes. So the twist was, God says, in the 31 days of prayer, you are not to pray for you or about you.
Wow.
You have to pray for others. And as you pray for others, I'm going to take care of you. And that's what I put out to the women. I was like, this is what God told me. We are not to pray about our own selves. We are to pray about others. So make whatever your prayer request, put it down in there. Somebody's going to grab it by faith. And we're going to pray through. And sometimes I still have screenshots of this stuff, because it was so amazing how God did this. Like, sometimes we had over 80 women on the line.
Wow. From
different states, different places, because of my to prayer. So when the 31 days was over, I was like, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. I'm done. And then people started coming to me in my inbox like, hey, what are we supposed to do, man? This was so good. I'm like,
you just can't leave it there.
Exactly.
And think that,
but
that's just it.
I was like, here you go. I passed the baton. You can have it. I'm done.
Right.
Like, I was literally, I'm done. And so there was a third woman that came to me, and I didn't know her. I knew of her, but I didn't know her again in that circle. And I still got that text to this day. She inboxed me. She says, I want to tell you that, 31 days of prayer has been amazing. She said, and the Lord told me to tell you that you're not done. Now, these are 3 different women who did not know each other at all.
Yes.
And then she goes further. She says, God says, this is a movement. Now, first of all, I know nothing about no movement. I'm like, ma'am, okay.
She said, Erica thinking, no, that's not power to the people.
This ain't the power to the people. We done. And then she said, and God says, you're going to create a journal, a devotional for women from this 31 days of prayer.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, ma'am, first of all, what God you talking about? Because she ain't got no money. All of it right now, where I'm at right now,
and we start internalizing what we have instead of using
and what we don't have.
Right. Instead of just going with what we heard. But we're going to pause right here. We're going to take a quick break. Yes. And we'll be right back.
Stay tuned.
We can't go without thanking our sponsor for today's podcast, the Fabric Boutique. We are an online faith-based and Christian-owned boutique that offers uniquely handcrafted and hand-sewn items for your home as well as accessories. We believe ministry starts in the home. This is where faith and fabric come together. The Fabric Boutique offers a variety of products. Our signature product, the Prayer and Devotional Pillow. We also have prayer journals for both adults and children, as well as journal cases, Bible covers, and so much more. Please visit www.thefabricboutique.com and use the discount code TFBP20 for 20% off your order. Again, that's www.thefabricboutique.com. Enjoy the show.
Hey guys. So where we left off is, so I received those words, affirmation, and eventually it started kicking in, like, this is serious. Like, this is the third time someone has said something to me. And again, all of these women knew of me but did not know me. So it wasn't like my girlfriends, you know, kind of. So so I wrote it down. I started writing it down, and then I went back to my company that was taking care of this brand that I was trying to create, right? And so we had a conversation, and I was like, I'm just going to keep it before God. And so what I said was, okay, God, if this is really what you want me to do, show me what to do. Like, what do you mean movement? So that's when I didn't start with the group. What I did was I started with the things he was like tapping me to do. Yes. And so the first part of that was, because it came out of me needing, I figured the least I could do is serve someone else while God is taking care of me. I can start serving others. And so I just started putting together care packages for women. Oh, wow. And he would tell me what to put in there, and I would put a gift card. I would put, you know, whatever he would tell me, and I would pack them up and I would ship them out to women. Like random people. I would ask somebody to nominate somebody. Okay. I got you. And so they did, and that's what I started doing. And from there, like, people just started following the Girl I See You page, because I created the page when I was thinking of doing this prayer thing. It was going to be something. And so then I started saying, okay, God, what do you want me to do? So I started the group, and that's how it happened. And I never ever in my wildest dreams would have thought that 8 years later we still are serving women. And we've had like events offline, so it's not like, but most of those women, when they come to offline events with me, they're like, oh my God, you know, because this is their first time meeting me. Right. The women come from everywhere to these events. I mean, literally, I had an event in Florida, because I had 2 years in a row. I had a retreat out in Destin, Florida, right? And so I was in Louisiana at the time, but it was in Destin because God told me it was going to be around water. He gave me all the specifics. I had people driving from like North Carolina and Atlanta, and not for me. Right. It wasn't. This is what God will do when you are obedient. This was because they knew that God was saying they needed to be in that space. And the testimony still to this day, if I went out, this is not me being bold or prideful. If I went out today and said, hey guys, we're going to be doing a retreat, I believe that the 50 women that came to the first, and we had more than 50 for the second, they would be my first women, because they always say, Erica, if you do it again, they will be right there, right? So it was never about me, but he used me. So think about Esther, right? Because you asked me. This, what God was doing for the Jews, it was not about Esther. It was about God. The purpose that God had that needed to be put out into the earth actually came through her, right? And so if I would have said no, like her uncle said, under harsh circumstances, okay, because I'm gonna be truthful, like everything was manna by day, because I was looking at a notebook today where I jotted down what cost for the retreat. Sometimes they were 5 figures. 5 figures. I didn't have 5 figures. I didn't didn't have consistently 4 figures.
So you looking at your notebook and you looking up at God like
I'm in a deficit. I'm in a negative.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But the things that God did because of my faith.
Yes.
The women who paid was women who had never been in those spaces. So when you've never been someone, you talking about I'm gonna pay $475 for a room for one night. What are you talking about? But they did it, right? However, God did it. And so I never left there in a negative. I didn't profit financially,
right?
But I profit through current. I believe relationship is currency.
That's another form of currency. Yes,
it's another form of currency. So me having connection to these women that still to this day follow me, support me, show up for me.
Yes.
That outpaid what that profit would have paid if I would have had a profit. Yes. Right. So that's how I can see that part of my life as Esther, because in that it was like God said, go see about my people.
Yes.
See about my girls. Yes. Pour into them even though you feel like you need pouring. Right? I'm gonna pour into you enough that you're gonna be able to give to them. And so in those spaces I see how God used me to be that to people, but it was only because I was crazy enough to say yes.
Yes. And it's important to know that obedience in these times of uncertainty, that's truly where our faith is tested.
Yeah.
Right?
Obedience is truly better than a sacrifice.
Yes. And you're thinking, how is this don't make sense?
This ain't making sense, Lord.
I don't know people like that. And like you said, you're looking at the notebook.
I'm in a new state.
Yeah.
I don't even know this. I don't know nobody there.
Yes.
But look how God does things.
Yes.
I met one young lady because I wound up going to a wrong church. That's a whole nother story. In this little town, because I always say, God, what are you going to do with me in this little town of Lafayette? That was God, me and God. There's great people there. Nothing wrong with the people, but it was, it was a smaller version of what I was used to. I met one young lady that then allowed me to meet other young ladies. Then I found out a friend of mine who I went to school with actually lived there. So then she and I kept trying to connect, but it never happened. Right? And then at the time, Esther, the right time, she went to see the king. It wasn't when they wanted her to, it was at the right time.
Right.
So then I connected with her, and they knew people. And so they had people that was coming from other places, but through them was the reason I was able to successfully do. And then I had people that came from different places. Right? None of them really knowing my story. None of them knew.
But look what God can do.
Look what God can do.
When we trust, when we know what we heard,
and
we just act on. Even if those steps along the way, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, Lord.
Many steps of the way. Many steps of the way. Even this day, and I won't jump fast, but Brand's all right. When God gave me that, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
Who, what?
Yes.
My husband and I, we were on a getaway. It was our anniversary and we were supposed to go out to country and we couldn't because COVID happened and everything shut down. So he was adamant that we still would do something because that's Jim. And so we went to this retreat center somewhere somebody had referred him to, and I felt so bad because the whole time God was talking to me about this unknown thing, right? And I'm saying, nah, I'm supposed to be present. And I was present, but mentally I was like, God, why you keep putting this on my heart? Long story short, it was not Brand Her Right at that time. It was nothing. Because again, at that time, anytime I had an event, I had another young lady who has a business. She took care of all of those things,
of the branding,
right? So that part, so I was in another space now. So she took care of any t-shirts, bags, whatever. She was my person. So I'm talking to God like, what is it you want me to do? Like, and I really believed in my heart that what he was doing was getting me ready so that I could do these things for Jim and I, because we have ministry. So, I mean, that makes sense. Like anything that I could do that would be able to save us was going to be the thing, right? But that was not what God was doing. But he allowed me to feel that or experience that until he was ready to really,
because you couldn't handle the whole vision.
I wouldn't been able to handle it because
God only gives us a little bit. Because if he gives you the whole thing, God is not going to give us the whole thing. And He knows we're babes. We're too whatever in our walk and our relationship to even comprehend. Even a portion, a nugget of what He's trying to say. He'll give you a little bit.
That's good.
He'll give you a little bit.
Yeah.
And to see if He can trust you
with the cup of water.
The little bit. With the cup of water, right? And so we're going to end it right here for now, but we have a part 2.
Yes.
I want you to stay tuned to the Fabric Boutique. Again, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And we're going to learn more about Erica Michelle Bailey, the brand, in part 2, which will be coming up next week. So stay tuned. We are going to leave links right in the description box to where you can find everything about Erica Michelle Bailey, Girl I See You, Brand Her Right, everything.
Yes.
We'll leave it down in the description box below. But stay tuned for part 2 because there is an event coming up in October.
Yes. And it's birth
2024. And we're going to talk about that in part 2.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You all have a blessed rest of your week. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.